Welcome to Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends. It is early 2026, and the world's second largest economy looks like two completely different movies playing at the same time. On one screen, a burst property bubble, indebted local governments, anxious households, and a consumer too cautious to spend. It looks like a classic slowdown. The old growth engine, real estate, has stalled. On the other screen, technological acceleration, AI breakthroughs, advanced robotics, electric vehicles dominating global markets, China climbing innovation rankings and challenging Western dominance in strategic industries. So which movie is real? The unsettling answer? Both. This is not chaos. It is strategy. Beijing is attempting one of the most ambitious economic transitions in modern history, shifting from a debt-fueled property model to state-driven technological supremacy. If it succeeds, it will rewrite the global order. If it fails, the shockwaves will hit every major economy. For 2 decades, real estate in China was the growth machine. Build more, borrow more, sell more. GDP rose. Local governments thrived on land sales. Developers leveraged endlessly. By 2021, the model hit mathematical limits. Housing supply far outpaced sustainable demand. Developers collapsed. Debt surfaced. The engine stalled. From a Western perspective, the solution seems obvious. Pivot to consumption. Let households spend. Raise household consumption from roughly 40% of GDP. That's far below the global average, near 60%. Unlock domestic demand. But Beijing resists. The reluctance is ideological as much as economic. Leadership fears welfarism, the idea that expansive social transfers weaken work incentives and fiscal discipline. There is also a historical cautionary tale, the fear of Latin Americanization, where premature welfare expansion preceded stagnation. Yet the absence of a robust safety net has consequences. Pension funds face long-term strain. Healthcare coverage remains uneven. Hundreds of millions of migrant workers lack full access to urban public services. Faced with uncertainty, households save aggressively. No safety net means no spending surge. Without consumption and without real estate, growth requires a new engine. The answer is production, but upgraded. The new doctrine in China is new quality productive forces. Instead of stimulating demand, Beijing is stimulating supply. Massive capital flows into advanced manufacturing. AI, semiconductors, industrial robotics, biotech, EVs, aerospace systems. The objective is not merely to assemble products, but to control entire value chains, from patents to automation software to final output. This is not a retreat from manufacturing. It is a doubling down. Even low-end industries are automated rather than offshored. Robotics replaces cheap labor. Artificial intelligence boosts efficiency. The workforce may shrink demographically, but productivity per worker must surge. The ambition is comprehensive industrial dominance, not just high-tech leadership, but supply chain control across sectors. For decades, Western political theory assumed autocracies face the king's dilemma. Too much control suffocates innovation. That assumption now looks fragile. China has developed what analysts call smart authoritarianism. Political control remains tight, but repression is increasingly low intensity. It's technologically mediated. Algorithmic censorship, predictive monitoring, targeted intervention rather than mass spectacle. Meanwhile, governance structures in strategic sectors remain technocratic. They're performance-driven. Scientific talent is cultivated aggressively. State capital is deployed with focus. The results are measurable. China's global innovation rankings have surged. AI firms compete at frontier levels. Export controls intended to constrain chip access have forced engineering efficiency gains. Constraint became catalyst. Control and innovation are no longer mutually exclusive. But here is the paradox. Even when industrial output rises, and GDP expands. Yet corporate profits compress and tax revenues soften. This is overcapacity. Factories produce at scale, but domestic demand remains insufficient. Result: prices fall. Margins are thin. Growth becomes profitless. The excess must go somewhere. So it goes abroad. China's share of global industrial output has climbed dramatically. It is projected to rise further. Electric vehicles, machinery, chemicals, electronics. Increasingly competitive and increasingly exported at scale. For importing nations, this presents pressure. Domestic producers struggle against subsidized, highly automated Chinese manufacturers. Trade barriers rise. Anti-dumping cases multiply. Strategic industries become politicized. The world is being asked to absorb China's excess capacity. China refuses to boost internal demand aggressively. That tension defines today's trade conflicts. So where does this leave us globally? China's political model has adapted. Innovation is accelerating. Technological capabilities are expanding. But its macroeconomic structure remains rigid. Production is prioritized over consumption. Supply is strengthened while demand lags. Exports carry the burden of domestic imbalance. The question is no longer whether China can innovate. The real question is whether innovation can substitute for demand. If global markets remain open, the strategy may sustain momentum. If trade barriers harden, excess capacity has nowhere to go. A superpower is attempting to engineer growth through industrial dominance rather than household prosperity. It is an unprecedented experiment, and the outcome will shape global markets, geopolitics, and technological competition for the next decade. Thanks for listening to Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends. Stay safe, stay curious, and happy new thinking.